guys, it's Kelly. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the top 5 books that are my favorite of 2019. I do have one honorable mention because I made this list before I read this book, and then I didn't want to add it as like a top 6 because then my other list I would have to add a 6th book, and I didn't want to deal with all that. And so yeah, so I'm going to be having an honorable mention, and then I'm going to get into my top 5. So my honorable mention is 10 Blind Dates by Ashley Elston. I loved this book. It's about a girl. She gets dumped right before Christmas, and so her big Italian family decides to set her up on 10 blind dates, starting with 5 days before Christmas, and then 5 days after Christmas with the New Year. I was sick the week I read this. I read this for the 'Tis the Season-a-thon. I read this book in 2 days. Both days I was sick. And when I'm sick, I'm grouchy. I don't do anything. But I read this, and I laughed so hard because these dates and the people that she was set up with on these dates were just hilarious. Now, my favorite date has to be blind date number 2. And it's not just because it was set on my birthday, December 21st. No. If you've read this book and you know what date falls on December 21st, then you know. But if you don't want to hear me spoil it, then mute me until I put this book down. So on December 21st, she is set up by her aunt with this 14-year-old freshman. She's a senior in high school, okay? And the boy's name is Harold, and his nickname is 100 Hands Harold because he is always grabbing her, trying to touch her butt and trying to hold her hand and say, "Look, everyone, this is my girlfriend. We're on a date." And the date is a nativity scene, and it's just so funny. And there's a goat, and there's a screaming baby. She plays Mary, and she's all lit up in these Christmas lights. I just want somebody... Okay, y'all can unmute me. I just want somebody to make a whole Tumblr page with every little detail about this book. I want the house party. I want her crying. I want her and her cousins and the guy from next door. And I want her grandma wearing the aprons. I want the electrocuted goat. I want the triple X rated movie actors. I want the dreaded cannolis that put her uncle in the bathroom. Not literally, but yeah, I want everything. And she's Ashley Elston has a new book coming out, I think in 2021, something like that, and it's called 10 Truths or 10 Dares and a Truth, or 10 Truths and a Dare. I don't know, but I'm hoping it's revolving this family because I cannot freaking wait. So the first book on my favorites list of 2019 was Roseblood by A.G. Howard. This is a Phantom of the Opera retelling, and this girl, she gets sent to Paris because I read this at the beginning of the year, so most of the details are kind of fuzzy, but I had so many connections to this book, and my review is linked down below in my blog. But yeah, Rune, her voice has been compared to that of an angel, a mysterious affliction linked to her talent that leaves her sick and drained at the end of each performance. So she gets sent to the opera house, the school, and the Phantom, he's still there. with a boy who he found at an orphanage and he's taken care of. And these two, it's basically the Phantom reimagined. And the reason I connected with this is because there's a baby scene, like a baby that was born too early, and I connected with that because my youngest was born 5 weeks early and she had health issues, and this baby, yeah, something like that. But it was great. This was my first A.G. Howard book. I got this out of a Alcrate Pass box, and the font, another reason why I like this book is the font is red. And so I need to read more of A.G. Howard's works because her writing style just swept me up and I just did not want to put it down. Also, Phantom of the Opera is my favorite movie. It was the first movie that I watched with my husband right when we first started dating, and it got him into musicals. And so whenever a new musical comes out, we watch it, and it's awesome. So yeah, Roseblood. It made me cry. It made me laugh. It made me nostalgic. And my daughter just commented tonight, I had a lot of favorite books last year. I realized that every other booktuber is having like 10 or 20 favorite books of the year to kind of match up with the number of the year, like 19 favorites of 2019 or 19 top reads. I've done that, but I want to keep it more intimate and simple. Like, these are the 6 books that I cannot get out of my head that I've been thinking about constantly ever since I got through reading them. And I think that's what a favorite should be, that once you put it down, you want more and you just cannot stop thinking about it. And these are the 6 books that I can't stop thinking about, and that touched that was personal, that had a personal connection to me, that is following a topic that I am interested in, that I am close to, or just made me laugh at a time in my life where it was really, 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 really sucky. And that's with the next book. This Is Where I Leave You by Jonathan Tropper. This is the movie cover edition. I got it from Dollar Tree, and it's got Jason Bateman, Tina Fey, Adam Driver, Jane Fonda, and it's just an awesome book. It's about this guy. He's a radio show producer, and the host of the radio show has been sleeping with his wife for a year. And so he gets divorced, and then his father dies. And so this whole book takes place during Shiva, which is, they're a Jewish family, and so it's a 7-day mourning period where they have to sit in these little chairs, and they get greeted, and it's like a reception after a funeral, but it's like 7 days. And so all this family stuff ensues. There's fights, there's crying, there's a whole lot of adult time. I can't say that because my kids are here. And yeah, it was just, I watched the movie twice, and I need to own the movie. And also, the reason I love the movie so much, which made me love the book so much, is that one of my favorite actors, Timothy Oliphant, plays Hori, or Hari. I don't know how you pronounce it. And he was in a fight, and he had well, it says in the movie they were in a car crash, but they were in a fight, and he got a brain injury that causes him seizures, and he has to live with his mom and stuff. And so whenever he's euphoric or happy, like happy time, he goes into a seizure, and he was dating one of the sisters, and she's now married to a different guy and has kids, and she's just missing his love because her husband now is just a complete scumbag. My favorite part has to be in the synagogue where they set off the fire alarms and they smell like dorm room. It's just, I'm gonna have to reread this book. I need this movie and I need to reread it. This is one of my favorites. I didn't think I was gonna like it, but I read it for the Buzzword Readathon for you, where I had it for the Buzzword Readathon when it was who, what, when, where, why, for where. So I had it for 2 Buzzword Readathons and I only read it once. But yes, this was just a good one. If you have not read this or watched the movie, I highly recommend it because it is funny as hell. The third favorite of the year is The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. I don't have my own copy, which is blasphemy. So I'm hoping I get it sometime for Christmas. Mama, did you buy it for me? But this is book 2 of, this is the sequel to The Handmaid's Tale. And it's 15 years after Offred gets into the black van at the end of The Handmaid's Tale. So you don't know, is she going to die? Is she going to finally escape? And the Testaments is told from 3 perspectives. 2 from inside Gilead and 1 in Canada. And it has the backstory of Aunt Lydia. Finally, I hate Aunt Lydia sucks. But the one con I had with this book is that her backstory in the show, the little bit of the show that they did show, her backstory in the show did not match up with the backstory that was in the book. So that tells me that Margaret Atwood didn't have much writing leeway in the third season. And this picks up right. Okay, if you're not watching the show, watch the show before you read this book. Now, I'm telling you that, but I'm telling you this too. You cannot binge The Handmaid's Tale. If you can, then you are freaking heartless. So, I would suggest watching an episode a week, like Hulu shows, and then you'll be able to read the Testaments and fully immerse yourself in the book, because you'll understand it so much more. You'll know who each character is, and the ending will just make you happy. There are some characters that I wonder where they're at, what happened to them. I'm not going to say which characters in case you are watching the show and you're caught up with the show and you haven't read the Testaments yet. But the Testaments was a 5 out of 5 for me. And everyone that says that they didn't understand it but they haven't caught up with the show, then you need to watch the show and then watch the book. That should be like a freaking prerequisite to the Testaments. You need to catch up with the show before you watch the book, because then you're not going to understand it and you're not going to get it. I read The Handmaid's Tale before I started watching the show, and I gave it a 3 out of 5. And then the show, when I got done with the first episode of season 1, I was like, they just showed the whole freaking book in this episode. So what is with the rest of the season? And it goes into so much more detail. And then season 2, and then season 3. Oh my God. So season 4. And all those kids, and Gilead's going to be so freaking pissed. I want to see how the commanders and the wives handle what happened at the end of season 3. The 4th book on this list is a middle grade, and I read it last month, and it is The Simple Art of Flying by Corey Leonardo. This book is a mix between Polly and Rio. If you have not seen those 2 movies, stop watching me right now. Pause. Go watch those 2 movies and then come back. And This is the beauty of those two movies. This book is about two African gray parrots, and they were born in a animal shop, an animal store, and they make. The sister she's sick. She didn't hatch right. She didn't hatch on her own, so that's kind of a big thing right there. You're supposed to hatch on your own. If you don't, you're not made for the world. But she's the kindest, and she's the friendliest, and she's the most loving little African gray parrot. She makes friends with the guinea pigs, the hamsters, the goldfish, the parakeets. What else? No. Were there puppies? Yeah, there were puppies. There were puppies. My kid's right here, and she's just like, at the book like, I can't wait to read you. But yeah. The sister's name is,
hold on. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Aggie is the girl, and Alistair is the boy parrot. He's a mean one. He's a biter. And so he tries to protect Aggie at all costs. And one day she gets sold to a boy who works in the shop. And he's just trying to find a way to escape the store and fly to Key West to live in a palm tree. And so one day he gets sold to this old woman named Birdie. Albertina Plopke is the best character in my freaking opinion. This old woman, she writes letters to her husband, and she complains about her son, how he wants her to move to Florida, and she's trying to get all these group events going for the singers down at the Singer Center that she goes to, or the church. And she complains about this one old woman and the puppy. She did something with puppies, and one puppy whizzed on her loafers.
Peed on her shoe.
Peed on her shoe. And it's just, this book is gold. Mwah. Chef's kiss awesome.
Mom wants a second one.
I want a second one. Corey Leonardo, I think this is her only book that she's written, which is, and Al Craig Jr. did such a good job choosing this book. This belongs to Ari. She got it in her March box with all the birds, and it's just, oh, Al Craig Jr., if you're watching, every time this woman writes a book, can you please put it in your box? But this is just the greatest book ever. And the reason I say it reminds me of Polly is because the bird, Polly, he has an attitude. And he gets sold to an old woman who is exactly like Albertina Plopke. And so, oh, and there's a cat who got his tail caught in a window. There's a 20-year-old goldfish.
Wait, can I sing it? It's the perfect time.
Oh, yeah. Okay, it's Christmas. So, here's a little jingle.
I forgot.
Come on.
Deck the halls with fleas and fur balls.
It's, oh, goodness. Merry Christmas. Buy this book. Read it.
Please.
Read it with your kids. I'm still laughing about The Simple Art of Flying. Okay, and the final book on my list I read, I finished this month, and it is Girls Like Us by Randy Pink. I got this book for a blog tour spot, and oh my god, it was so good. It's set in the 70s during the Vietnam War, and it talks about Nixon and how he looks evil. It's about 4 girls, and 3 live in Valdosta, Georgia, and 1 is a prominent senator's daughter. The 3 that live in Georgia are African American, and the prominent senator's daughter is a redheaded, white, hippie girl. And the one thing that these girls have in common is that they're pregnant. So Izzy and, oh, I forgot her name. 2 of the girls are sisters, and one of the sisters got pregnant, and she is delusional. She's not delusional, but her mom is like evangelist. That's what they call their mom, because she preaches and she's taking care of all these other people, and it has she teaches her kids how to clean the kitchen, how to be a good housewife. And so it also has the Tuskegee Airmen. Yeah. And the mom marries one of them. And one of their neighbors is called Mississippi. She is a, I think, 11 or 12-year-old girl who's pregnant. Yep. She was raped by a family member, and her daddy is a truck driver, and he's never home. So she is the only one who's living in the house, and her daddy just sends her to Chicago to live with this, not a nun, not this woman who is just, she helps girls like them. Reason being, that's the title of the book, Girls Like Us. Pregnant teen moms. Pregnant teenage girls. And so the prominent senator's daughter, she is in a awful situation. The father of her child, he's just an idiot, and he's got a grandma, and he's like, oh, my grandma this and my grandma that. He's a grandma's boy, and his grandma is like, okay, once this baby is born, you're getting married, you're going to be a housewife, your name is going to be this and this and this. And her mom, the girl's mom, I think Sue, the pregnant girl's name is Sue, and her mom is just, she sends her to Chicago because she was once in a similar situation in Australia, and Sue finds out she has a brother. And so it's all about these 4 girls and connecting and growing close because of this situation that they're in. And it's horrible, and it's got voodoo in it, and the ending, it just made me cry, because it's about a couple of years later, and it talks about Twitter and poetry, and it's just amazing. It brings up the topic of all these white men telling women what they can and cannot do with their bodies. Because the girl at the end, she's in a pro center. I'm spoiling it, so but yeah, it mentions topics. So it mentions rape, abortion, inequality, racism, stuff like that. So it's a really good book. This book is by Randy Pink. I think she wrote one other book called Into White, and I haven't read it yet, but just reading Girls Like Us is just, it connected with me because I had my daughter at 18, and yeah, so I have that connection with it. But I wasn't looked down upon. I didn't get much hate, and so I didn't get looks, because there was a couple of other girls in my school that were pregnant at the same time I was. It wasn't. It was connection, but yeah, Randy Pink is now one of my must-read authors. That's it for my top 5 favorites of 2019. I hope you enjoyed. What are your favorites of 2019? Comment them down below. See if I read them. And if not, then I will make it a priority to read it next year. I may do that. So list your favorites down below. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you in my next video.